At 70, I finally understand what money really means, and it has nothing to do with wealth. It's about freedom, dignity, and the ability to live without fear. If I could sit across from my 40-year-old self, I'd share 5 truths that would have changed everything. When I was 40, retirement felt distant, almost imaginary. I saved when I could, contributed to my 401k, and told myself I had time. 40 felt permanent. 70 felt theoretical. Now I live in that future, and it looks nothing like I imagined. At 40, my plans were built on reasonable assumptions, that my health would hold, that inflation would behave, that Medicare would cover most needs, that independence would last. None of these felt careless. They felt safe. But life doesn't run on assumptions. The real costs arrived slowly. Medical visits, prescriptions, home repairs, help for tasks I once handled easily. Not luxuries, necessities. At the same time, inflation quietly shrank the value of everything I had saved while my income stayed fixed. That's when I understood what I missed at 40. Your future self isn't an idea. She's real, and the retirement you actually live is rarely the one you imagine. That realization leads directly to the first mistake I made, one that shaped everything that followed. The first mistake I'd warn my younger self about is the one that haunts me most: underestimating health care and long-term care. At 40, I was healthy. I rarely went to the doctor. I had employer-sponsored insurance that covered almost everything. Medicare seemed like a distant safety net I'd eventually fall into, and I assumed it would catch me completely. It doesn't. Medicare covers many things, but not everything. Not dental, not vision, not hearing aids, not most long-term care. And the premiums for Part B, Part D, and a good supplement plan add up faster than I ever anticipated. At 70, I spend more on health care each month than I ever did on rent in my 20s. And that's when I'm relatively healthy. The real fear, the one that keeps me awake some nights, is what happens if I get seriously ill. What happens if I need a nursing home, or memory care, or round-the-clock assistance? The average cost of a nursing home in this country can easily exceed $6,000 or $7,000 a month. Most people's savings evaporate within a year or two. I watched it happen to friends, to neighbors, to people who thought they'd planned well. At 40, I should have looked into long-term care insurance. I should have asked hard questions. I should have saved aggressively in a health savings account. I should have treated health care not as an expense I'd deal with later, but as the single largest financial risk of my later years. Because that's what it is. I'm not saying this to frighten anyone. I'm saying it because I wish someone had said it to me. Health care in your 70s and beyond is not like health care in your 40s. Your body changes. Things break down. And the systems designed to help you are expensive, complicated, and often inadequate. If you're 40 now, please, don't make the assumption I made. Don't assume you'll be fine. Plan as if your health will need attention, because it will. And plan as if that attention will cost more than you think, because it does. The second mistake is one I see clearly now. With the cruelty of hindsight, I delayed serious retirement savings for too long. At 40, I was contributing to my 401k, but not enough. I told myself I'd catch up later. I told myself I had 25 years until retirement, and that felt like an ocean of time. I prioritized other things: vacations, a nicer car, home renovations, helping my kids. All of those felt important in the moment, and maybe they were, but I didn't understand the cost of waiting, Compound interest is a quiet miracle, but only if you give it time. The money you save in your 40s grows exponentially more than the money you save in your 50s. By waiting even 5 years, I lost decades of potential growth. I thought I was being responsible by saving something. I didn't realize I was being cautious when I needed to be aggressive. At 70, I'm living on a fraction of what I could have had if I'd simply saved more, earlier. It's not that I'm destitute. I get by. But getting by is a far cry from the comfort and security I dreamed of. I can't travel the way I hoped. I can't help my grandchildren the way I want. I worry about money in ways I never imagined I would at this age, and all of it traces back to decisions I made, or didn't make, at 40. If I could do it over, I'd live a little smaller in my 40s to live larger now. I'd maximize my retirement contributions every single year. I'd treat my future self not as a stranger, but as someone I loved deeply and wanted to protect. Because that's the truth no one tells you at 40. Your 70-year-old self is depending on you. She's counting on the choices you make today, and she has no way to go back and fix them. The third mistake, carrying debt into retirement, is one I didn't fully appreciate until I was living it. At 40, debt felt manageable. I had a mortgage, a car payment, some credit card balances. I had a steady income, and I could cover the monthly payments without too much strain. I assumed I'd have everything paid off by the time I retired. I assumed wrong. Life intervened. There were setbacks, emergencies, periods of unemployment. There were choices I made that seemed reasonable at the time. Refinancing the house to pay for college, taking out a loan for a new roof, using credit cards to cover a medical bill. Each decision made sense in isolation, but together they added up to a burden I carried into my 60s and beyond. Retirement income is not the same as working income. It's fixed. It doesn't grow. And when a chunk of it goes to debt payments every month, what's left feels achingly small. I watch my Social Security check arrive, and before I can even think about groceries or medication or a small pleasure, a portion of it is already spoken for. It's gone before I touch it. Debt in retirement doesn't just strain your budget, it strains your peace of mind. It's a constant weight, a reminder that you're still paying for the past while trying to live in the present. It limits your choices. It makes you feel trapped. And it steals the freedom that retirement is supposed to bring. If I could go back to 40, I'd make eliminating debt my highest priority. I'd live below my means, not at them. I'd aggressively pay down the mortgage, avoid car loans, and treat credit cards like the trap they can become. I'd enter retirement with nothing owed to anyone, not because I'm financially savvy, but because I know now what freedom feels like when you don't have it. And I'd want my younger self to have that freedom waiting for her. The fourth mistake I'd warn myself about is not building a proper emergency fund. At 40, I had a little money set aside, but not enough. I thought my income was stable. I thought my expenses were predictable. I thought emergencies were rare. I was wrong on all counts. Emergencies don't stop when you retire. If anything, they increase. The water heater fails. The roof starts leaking. The car breaks down. A family member needs help. A health issue arises that insurance doesn't fully cover. These aren't hypotheticals. They're realities I've faced repeatedly in my 70s. And each time I've had to scramble, stress, and sometimes make painful choices about what to pay for and what to delay. An emergency fund isn't just about money. It's about dignity. It's about not having to ask your children for help. It's about not having to go into debt to fix a problem. It's about sleeping at night, knowing that if something goes wrong, you can handle it. Without that cushion, every unexpected expense feels like a crisis. With it, life's surprises are manageable. At 70, my emergency fund is smaller than I wish it were. I've had to dip into it more times than I'd like to admit, and rebuilding it on a fixed income is nearly impossible. If I'd known at 40 how much I'd need that safety net, I would have built it thicker, stronger, and sooner. I would have made it a non-negotiable part of my financial life, as essential as paying rent or buying food. If you're 40 and reading this, please build that fund. Aim for 6 months of expenses, then a year. Protect it fiercely. Don't touch it unless it's truly an emergency, because the peace of mind it provides is worth more than anything you could buy with that money. And your 70-year-old self will thank you in ways you can't yet imagine. The fifth and final mistake is perhaps the one I understand least at 40, and most at 70, ignoring the emotional side of money. I treated finances as a math problem. I thought if I saved X amount and spent Y amount, everything would work out. I didn't account for how money makes you feel, how it shapes your sense of self-worth, your relationships, your ability to be generous, your capacity to face the future without fear. At 70, I've learned that financial security isn't just about having enough. It's about what that enough allows you to be. It's the ability to help a grandchild with college. It's the freedom to say yes when a friend invites you to dinner. It's the dignity of not being a burden. It's the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can take care of yourself. Money, or the lack of it, affects everything. It affects how you see yourself. It affects your relationships with your children, who worry about you and wonder if they'll need to support you someday. It affects your ability to enjoy simple pleasures without guilt or anxiety. It affects whether you feel like you're living or just surviving. I wish I'd understood at 40 that saving for retirement wasn't just about funding a lifestyle. It was about protecting my humanity. It was about ensuring that in my final decades I could still be the person I wanted to be: generous, independent, unburdened, and at peace. If I could sit across from my 40-year-old self now, I'd hold her hand and say this: every financial decision you make is also an emotional one. Every dollar you save is a vote for your future dignity. Every debt you avoid is a weight you won't carry. Every emergency fund dollar is a layer of peace. Don't just plan for retirement. Plan for the person you want to be when you're old, because she's coming, whether you're ready or not, and she deserves your care, your foresight, and your love. At 70, I live with the consequences of what I did and didn't do at 40. Some days are harder than others, but I'm grateful for the lessons, even if they came too late for me. If sharing them helps even one person plan differently, love their future self more fiercely, and build a retirement rooted in both security and dignity, then perhaps these mistakes weren't made in vain.